Sis, be honest with yourself for a moment. Have you ever asked yourself, why did I stay with someone I knew I shouldn't have been with? You felt it. You saw the red flags. Maybe God even told you no, but you stayed anyway. If that question has been playing over and over in your mind, this episode is for you. So join me right after this. Hey sis, welcome to Goodbye Heartbreak, Hello Healing. Are you hurt and confused after a recent breakup? Are you having thoughts like, I can't believe I'm here again. Why wasn't I enough for him? Or I'm never going to get married? Do you find yourself Googling how to get past the breakup or how to heal my broken heart? Do you start your morning feeling like you can finally breathe again, only to fall apart when you see a picture of your ex on social media? Hey sis, I'm Candace. I too was a single Christian woman who was heartbroken but still desired marriage. I too had numerous failed relationships and wished the right man would come along. I wanted closure from past relationships, healing for my heart, and I wanted to feel joy in my life again. But the truth is, I had no idea where to start or how to make any of this happen. Until I found the secret, partnering with God to heal from heartbreak. In this podcast, you will find tips for moving on after breakups, growing your relationship with God, and preparing for future relationships so that you will heal your heart and be ready to move forward into the life you desire. So turn off those heartbreak songs and turn me up in those earbuds. It's time to heal, sis. Hey sis, and welcome back for another episode of Goodbye Heartbreak, Hello Healing. Thank you so much for joining me on today. I have missed talking to you guys. So if you are new here, welcome to our Goodbye Heartbreak community. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, go ahead and hit your subscribe button wherever you are listening so that you'll know when the episodes are dropping. And also, if you have not yet left your 5-star written review, go ahead, talk about how awesome the podcast is for you and on Apple Podcast. And it really helps the show, guys. Like, it really does help other people just like you who need to hear this content to find the show. So please do that for your girl. So we are talking about something very important today. And we are talking about something that many of you probably have asked yourself before, like, why did I stay in a relationship with a person that I know I shouldn't have been with? So before we go any further, I need you to hear me clearly, sis. You are not the only one, okay? You are not. I have been there. I stayed in a relationship I knew I should not have been in. And truthfully, I probably knew before it even started, to be honest with you. You have this feeling, right? And I knew I had the feeling before, but I just ignored it. I ignored the red flags. I regretted it afterwards. And I also, blame myself for doing it, right? I have like this self-blame. I knew I shouldn't have been with this person from the get-go, yet I got into a relationship with them and even spent over a year in that relationship. I stayed for a long time. So maybe you find yourself there. And so, like I said before, like I always had a feeling, and it was a feeling, it was two feelings, right? I had a feeling that I shouldn't have been in the relationship. And I had a feeling that he was not being faithful, but I didn't have the proof. I didn't, I guess I kind of had a like, that wouldn't happen to me type vibe going on back then. But come to find out, it was all true. I shouldn't have been in the relationship, and he was cheating. He was engaged. And I found this out over an email, and it's not like he directly told me. He actually sent an email to his fiance and myself, but he was talking to her, but he sent it to both of us. I'm doing air quotes right now, accidentally put my name on that email too, right? But now I know it was just God, God doing his thing. So, but at the time it was like, I had this feeling and I knew it was bad, like with the relationship, but I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't expect him to be engaged, and I didn't expect to have actually been the other woman. Like I thought, we were together and then maybe he had cheated once or twice or was cheating with someone else. But actually, I was the woman who he was cheating on his fiance with. He was with her first. And so it was bad. It was bad. But even after all of that, that question still remained, like, why did I stay? Like when all of that happened, and it's like, you knew better. You had the feeling. So why did you stay there? And so, I just really want to talk to you about it. And, sometimes we stay, there are different reasons, and I'm going to tell you my reasons. Sometimes we stay because the fear of being alone just feels bigger than the red flags, right? We have this feeling, right? But we also know what it feels like to be by ourselves, to not have anyone. And I didn't want to be alone. So I would rather be in a relationship. I was like, well, I don't have proof. I don't know for sure. I was trying to discount my own discernment at that time, just so I can be in a relationship with someone. And then the second reason that I stayed was because this person pursued me and it felt good. And I don't mean like he dropped in my DMs or nothing like this. Like this man was pursuing me. Now that I look at it, okay, I was young back then, but it was a little stalkerish because I met him at church and he followed me to a grocery store after church that I went to, whatever, to he had introduced himself before. He wanted to talk to me again because I had dismissed him. Like he was actively pursuing me to a degree that I guess was more than normal. And back then it kind of fed my ego and fed something broken inside of me. And I liked it. And so it really fed some type of emotional need that I had. Not saying it was right, but that's what it was. And then the third reason that I stayed was something that I call in my field of psychology, we call it intermittent reinforcement, right? It's a term that we use when we talk about changing behavior through reinforcement or punishment. And so simply put, like he wasn't consistent in the relationship, but he would do just enough to keep me going, just enough to keep me hoping. He was very inconsistent, but that inconsistency was feeding something inside of me and it was drawing me closer to him. And so that inconsistency actually makes you more attached to a person, not less attached. It strengthens your attachment instead of weakening it. And it sounds backwards. Like, no, if somebody was inconsistent, like you would want to walk away. But that's actually not true at all. It actually keeps you on the hook, so to speak, because you're like, you never know when you're going to get that reinforcement. So you keep performing, you keep showing up, you keep hoping, you keep doing things that you think will draw him in, will keep him there with you because you think he's going to stay this time, or you think he's going to be more affectionate, or maybe he's going to realize your worth and your value this time and treat you differently. You keep thinking maybe things will be different. And I don't know. I can't say that that's what he, obviously I would say no, he didn't know that that's what he was doing. Maybe he did, but it was just something so natural for him, which is kind of scary. He was just naturally doing this thing. So, and sis, listen, if this is, I want to pause for a moment right here and say, because what I'm describing, this cycle of knowing but still staying, getting just enough to hold on, but never what you truly need, this is exactly where so many women get stuck, okay? That's where I got stuck. And if you're listening to this and you're like, that's me, that's exactly where I am. That's where I find myself. I don't want you to just hear this and go back into that same cycle, that cycle of maybe this time, maybe things will be different, holding on, holding out for hope, okay? And I don't want you to go back into that cycle. This is why I created my course, Grieving the Living, because I needed more than just a word back then, okay? I needed a process, and I did not have that. I needed something that was going to help me actually break the emotional ties that I had with this man. I needed something that was going to help me process the grief and stop going back to what I knew wasn't good for me, because after that, I still wasn't in a good place. I still went back not to him, but in other relationships, I found myself in toxic cycles. And so, I don't want you to go back to that. And that's exactly what I walk you through inside of my course. So if you're in that place right now, just know that support is there for you. Okay. I'll put the link in the show notes, all the details. You can even get 20% off at any time for enrolling in the course and being a podcast listener. All right. So, but let's keep going because, I want to help you understand this even deeper. Okay. So we talked about, I'm being very vulnerable with you right now by telling you all of this. You may have heard me tell bits and pieces of this story before, but, me really talking about why I stayed in that relationship is just another layer deeper of vulnerability I'm giving with you guys. Okay. So, but, like I said, we're going to take it a step further. And yes, there were psychological dynamics going on, but there was also a spiritual battle. Okay. There's a spiritual component to this. And to be honest, everything that we do in life, there is always a spiritual component. There's always something that we cannot see. The enemy uses confusion and inconsistency and emotional attachments. All right. He wants to use that against you. And he wanted me to stay stuck. He wanted me to stay confused, questioning myself. That's exactly what he wanted for my life. He wanted me to be in this toxic relationship with someone that I wasn't supposed to be in a relationship with. He wanted me probably to wait to find out this man was married, not just engaged, but married before I cut those ties, because I tried to leave that relationship several times. Let me say that. I definitely tried to leave several times. I broke up with him and he always came back. He always came back trying to get me back. Things weren't what it seemed. Maybe I was overreacting, all of these things, trying to, I'm sorry, I apologize. This is the truth this time. So a lot of things happened. He would always come back. And I just feel like the enemy was using him, his personality traits, and my brokenness. It was like the perfect recipe for destruction, really. And the enemy was just loving it. This wasn't just about my ex. Like, this was a real spiritual battle that the enemy was using against me. He was taking advantage of my sin, of my brokenness, and everything that I was engaged in that season of my life. And he will try to do the same thing with you. And so just at this point, it's like, we can't change the past, but it's like, how do you move forward? So, let's talk about where you might be right now, because you can't move forward till you know where you are. And so sis, are you blaming yourself? Are you feeling foolish, so to speak, thinking, I knew better? And I'm telling you this, I'm being very vulnerable with you because I don't want you to feel like you're the only person who has ever felt this way. But sis, you have to give yourself grace. I had to learn that I felt all those things, but I had to give myself grace. Okay. Yes, you stayed. Yes, you knew better, but God is not holding that over your head. He's not holding that against you. God gives you grace. So guess what? You need to give yourself grace. And when I decided to do that, that was a really big game changer for me, because I would be very hard on myself. And like, when I know that I knew better about something and I still didn't listen to the discernment or the leading, I would be very hard on myself, and I wasn't very gracious with myself. And that is something that I had to work on. And so maybe you're that kind of person and you need to work on that too. Because if you don't, you will stay stuck in shame. Shame will keep you. It will hold you captive, and that's dangerous. Shame will shape your identity if you let it. If you don't let this go and you don't give yourself grace, then you're going to find yourself walking in shame, in an identity that God did not give you. Okay. Which means you'll keep questioning yourself and you won't trust your discernment. And when I mean your discernment, I mean the discernment that's coming from God. You won't forgive yourself and you'll stay emotionally stuck. That's exactly what the enemy wants for you. But it's not what I want for you. And it's definitely not what God wants for you. So let me tell you what I see now. So God exposed everything in that relationship. I told you about the email. It was devastating at the time. But what felt like devastation was actually God's protection. I know now that God made sure that I knew the truth, because how would he accidentally put my name on that email that he was sending to his fiance? And he wasn't saying anything big, bombshell worthy, dropping, nothing like that. It was like, hey, I know you wanted me to do this with wedding plans, don't ask me this later, something like, it was just a few sentences, but nothing major. But I was like, wedding? Like what is he talking about? And so I hit reply all on that email, and I was like, you trying to play games, da 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 da. And and it turned into a thing where I ended up talking to his fiance. We got on the phone, we talked to each other, we just laid everything out on the table about what happened. And I got to see exactly the kind of person that he was. I got to find out everything that he was doing in this season since we had been together. And it seems terrible, but I have to tell God thank you, because he was very kind for not letting me stay in something that wasn't for me, that was toxic, that would be detrimental for my life, for my purpose and calling. I could not even imagine had I gotten stuck and tangled up with this man for the rest of my life. And so it's a kindness of God to blow it all up. Like, it seemed like, oh my God, my life is just, blown up right in front of me. But it's really like, thank you, God. Now I can say thank you. And not now that I'm married or I have kids and a family. No, like now as in before that. Now as in, God, you, like, shortly after that happened, even though I wasn't, I would say, all the way healed and ready to be the woman God called me to be, or to actually be healthy enough to be in a good relationship, but I could at least see that God's hand was on it and saying, God, thank you so much for like putting the nail in that coffin and making sure that I never went back to this man, because I told you I had an issue with the back and forth. And so he made sure that I never went back. And I'm so thankful for that. And so this season you're in right now, sis, just like for me, it may seem like it's punishment, but it's not. It's not punishment, okay? It's not because you were disobedient. It's not God getting back at you. God is using this season to grow you, sis, to shape you, to develop you into the woman he has called you to be. Trust me, I know from experience, and I know it hurts. I know you wish you had left sooner. I know you're replaying everything in your mind right now, but guess what? You will smile again, sis. You will have joy again. You will get through this. You're not alone in this season. God is walking with you. And so am I, okay? And so I just really wanted to talk about this subject because I thought it was super important. I hear a lot of women kind of saying that, like, I stayed too long. I don't know why I stayed in that relationship. I knew I should have left. I knew I shouldn't have been with him, and all of these things. And I know it's like weighing heavy on so many of you. So, I just wanted to touch on this subject. And if that's you, come over. You can come over to the Facebook group. If you're already in the group, let's chat about it. Go ahead and make a post, or I'll post something. You can go ahead and leave a comment. Come join the group. Make sure if you're joining the Facebook group, it is for females only, guys. The men be trying to get in there. You can't get in. All right. I'm so sorry. Y'all can't get in, but it's women only. And answer the membership questions, agree to the group rules to be let in. If you tried to get in before and you haven't been able to get in, that's probably why you haven't done those things that are required. And again, says that my course, Grieving the Living, is available for you to walk you through this grieving process, because I want you to be able to let this person go, and everything that was attached to him, the future that you wanted, is not here anymore. So let's grieve it so that we can let it go and move on to what God has next. All right, sis. So that is it. I love you so much. I appreciate you. And I cannot wait to hear some testimonies of what God is doing in your life. Go ahead and email me any testimonies or any wins at contact@CandiceABaddies.com. I will talk to you again real soon. Bye, sis. Hey sis, listen, if you have been blessed, changed, or inspired by this podcast in any way, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This is the #1 way that you can thank me and show support for the show. Also, if this podcast blessed you, don't keep it to yourself. Do a quick share and bless someone else. Please know I am so grateful for each and every one of you, and I would love to hear from you. Come connect with me and other like-minded individuals in my Facebook group called Christian Women Overcoming Heartbreak and Finding Purpose. I can't wait to meet you back here really soon. Until then, remember to love the life you have while you're making it better. Love you, sis.